In one of the most secretive and mysterious power systems on the planet, any fall of a top figure can signal an impending underground earthquake. And now, the focus is on Liu Jianchao, who was once a trusted aide to Chairman Xi Jinping, regarded as the heir-apparent foreign minister admired by the West, a symbol of a promising generation of leaders who has suddenly become the center of a secret inquiry. But wait, dear viewers, imagine this scene. A seasoned diplomat who once led global intelligence operations suddenly falls into disgrace. Who is pulling the strings behind this cold strike? Is it the iron hand of the conservative faction, or a strategic counterattack from the very core of the system? And if Mr. Liu truly revealed state secrets, what happens when Beijing's key link falls into the hands of its rivals? In today's episode of Global Panorama, together with Tuan An, we will trace the footprints of this shocking case, explore the terrifying conspiracy theories behind Liu Jianchao's disappearance, and unveil the turbulent phase overshadowing China's political scene. Dear viewers, please stay tuned. Dear viewers, on the evening of August 9th, 2025, while the entire elite of the Chinese Communist Party was quietly gathering at the Beidaihe seaside resort for a strictly confidential political conference, a sudden shock was dropped like a bomb backstage in Zhongnanhai by the Wall Street Journal. According to insider sources, Liu Jianchao, head of the Central Foreign Affairs Office, was taken away by security agencies for investigation immediately after returning to Beijing from an overseas trip at the end of July. To this day, the reasons remain tightly concealed, only fueling waves of suspicion about internal purges. But dear viewers, the matter did not stop there. Just a few days later, on August 11th, Reuters added information from its own sources confirming that Mr. Liu was detained after completing his journey through Singapore, South Africa, and Algeria back to China on July 30th. More alarmingly, his private residence was also searched by special forces in early August. This is not just an ordinary investigation, but a political upheaval that risks shaking the entire Chinese diplomatic apparatus. Liu Jianchao was considered the leading candidate for the next Minister of Foreign Affairs, now facing a deeply mysterious indictment. If the information is confirmed, he will be the second senior diplomat to be questioned after former Foreign Minister Qin Gang was abruptly removed from office. However, to grasp the severity, we need to look back at Mr. Liu's political journey. A graduate of Beijing Foreign Studies University and a former student at Oxford University. From a professional diplomat, he gradually rose through the ranks thanks to the trust of Chairman Xi Jinping, especially marked by the turning point in 2015 when he was transferred to the disciplinary supervision system, reserved for the most loyal aides in the anti-corruption campaign targeting tigers and flies. There, Liu not only held the position of Deputy Director of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, but also served as head of the International Cooperation Bureau, leading the Fox Hunt campaign, a global manhunt targeting officials and tycoons fleeing abroad. His being the first from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to move into the disciplinary supervision system shows the absolute trust Xi placed in him. And this makes his fall from grace all the more shocking. In 2017, Liu Jianchao was strategically transferred to Zhejiang Province, a region not only wealthy, but also a political stronghold closely tied to Chairman Xi Jinping. There, he served as a member of the Provincial Standing Committee, Secretary of the Provincial Discipline Inspection Commission, and Director of the Provincial Supervisory Commission. It was no coincidence that a central official was sent to train in the land that served as Xi's power base, where the close-knit force known as the Zhejiang New Army was formed. Being placed in this position was not only a challenge, but also a clear signal that Liu had officially joined the core cadre team of Zhongnanhai. After about a year, he was called back to the capital to serve as Deputy Chief of Staff of the Central Foreign Affairs Commission, a directly expanded branch under the foreign strategy led by Xi Jinping. The real turning point came in May 2022, when Liu was appointed head of the Central Foreign Affairs Office. a particularly powerful agency within China's diplomatic apparatus responsible for building and maintaining party-to-party relations with countries worldwide. In October of the same year, he became a member of the 20th Central Committee, clear evidence that he was being groomed for a key leadership position. After the sudden replacement of Qin Gang in mid-2023, Liu Jianchao's name immediately stood out when Wang Yi, who was over 70, had to return to the post of foreign minister reluctantly, making Liu the top candidate for the position. Behind the scenes, Beijing began presenting him as the unofficial successor. He continuously met with ambassadors from various countries and intensified visits to sensitive regions, especially the U.S. and the West. His trip to Washington in early 2024 was the pinnacle of his promotion as a foreign minister candidate. There, Liu met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in a meeting considered ministerial level. A U.S. official later revealed to the press that the Chinese side had basically informed them that Liu Jianchao would be their next foreign minister. Not only internally, but Liu's image on the international stage was also completely different. With fluent English, a calm demeanor, and especially the skill of delivering speeches without notes. He was regarded as a representative of a new generation of professional diplomats, in stark contrast to the previously controversial wolf warrior aggressive model. Because a figure who embodied full expectations from both domestic and international trust suddenly fell from grace, observers were thrown into a state of shock. The question arises, has he fallen into the eye of the storm of a power struggle entering a more brutal phase than ever before? But dear audience, prepare yourselves, because Liu Jianchao's mysterious disappearance inevitably recalls two previous downfalls. Former Foreign Minister Qin Gang and former Defense Minister Li Shangfu. All three were Central Committee members, senior figures personally chosen, supported, and highly hoped for by Chairman Xi Jinping in his plan to consolidate power. However, since the 20th Party Congress, a series of downfalls, dismissals, and investigations have occurred, focusing on top personnel promoted by Xi himself. This is not just internal cleansing. It reflects a systemic crisis in the leadership's personnel policy at Zhongnanhai, as close aides are successively caught in investigation spirals. This not only strikes at them personally, but also deals a direct blow to Xi's prestige and personnel judgment. When his own people are continuously disciplined, it signals serious instability within the core circle once considered untouchable. As news of Liu's interrogation spread, political analysts immediately proposed three main hypotheses about the cause. The first and most shocking hypothesis is corruption during the command of the fox hunt campaign directly managed by Liu, who controlled the operations of pursuing officials fleeing abroad and confiscating their assets. Liu was once considered the sharpest blade in the expanded anti-corruption campaign, targeting both tigers and flies. But that absolute power became fertile ground for personal gain. According to some experts, Liu may have exploited his position to make secret deals with targets who should have been pursued, while setting up overseas family trusts to conceal and legitimize vast assets. If this accusation is true, it is not just ordinary corruption, but blatant betrayal within the anti-corruption ranks, turning a predator into a protector. In the context of Xi still using the anti-corruption campaign as a tool to maintain power and control factions, charging clear crimes like corruption is the least costly way to remove a dangerous figure while maintaining public stability. The second hypothesis is internal conflict within the diplomatic field, where Liu's flexible, professional, and conciliatory style inadvertently became a thorn in the eyes of more conservative figures, especially State Councilor Wang Yi. Liu's confident demeanor, fluent English, and skill in unscripted speeches made waves in the West, but also made him dangerously prominent among leadership ranks that prioritize absolute obedience. And in a power system operating under strict hierarchical principles, any sign of shining beyond limits can be seen as a potential threat. In a power system operating under the principle of absolute compliance, any individual who stands out too much before being officially appointed can be considered to have seriously violated political rules. The case of Mr. Liu Jianchao is a vivid example. His continuous high-level contacts with foreign ministers of various countries and his public appearances on the international stage in a role almost like an acting foreign minister inadvertently crossed the boundaries of the tacit power set by Zhongnanhai. From an expert's perspective, the fact that Mr. Liu was identified as the direct successor of Mr. Wang Yi, a veteran diplomat with extensive influence who had been the face of China's foreign affairs for many years, may have sparked a silent wave of opposition within the conservative faction. Although over 70 years old, Mr. Wang still holds real power and is clearly not someone willing to witness a younger, more flexible, and more Western-friendly successor replace him without reacting. The article on Asia Financial accurately assesses that becoming a prominent candidate can sometimes be a curse, as it attracts unwanted attention and turns the individual into a prime target for forces that feel threatened. If we view the incident as an underground chess game, it can be said that Mr. Liu Jianchao entered the game too early and has lost. However, dear audience, the third hypothesis truly shocks the international observers. The possibility that Mr. Liu is being questioned for leaking state secrets. This is the most serious hypothesis, and if true, it would be the largest political security incident within the central ranks of China in recent years. As head of the Central Foreign Liaison Department, an agency that is both diplomatic and an intelligence tool, Mr. Liu holds top-secret information about Beijing's activities abroad. The key question is whether any leak, if it occurred, was intentional or accidental, and whether it signals that some officials are seeking a strategic escape route for themselves and their families amid rising instability. Security experts believe that some senior officials may have bought political insurance by secretly exchanging information with foreign countries in case of disgrace, and the line between sharing information and political espionage is extremely thin, especially when understanding the nature of the agency Mr. Liu leads, the Central Foreign Liaison Department. The severity multiplies. Unlike the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which operates officially, the Liaison Department is a special tool to build China's international political influence network, not through state channels, but through the party. This agency connects with parties, leftist organizations, civil associations, and even front groups to exert influence, gather information, and manipulate public opinion in target countries. In other words, Mr. Liu once headed an organization operating at the boundary between diplomacy, intelligence, and unconventional political warfare. Therefore, if Mr. Liu is accused of leaking secrets from that position, the consequences would not only be an internal investigation, but a strategic security breach that could shake the entire Beijing system. One of the most controversial activities of the Central Foreign Liaison Department of the Chinese Communist Party is its role in directing, supporting, and activating far-left groups in the West to cause social unrest, paralyze infrastructure, and undermine trust in democratic institutions. Analysts point out that many large protests in Europe and the U.S., seemingly spontaneous from civil society, actually bear traces of indirect direction from Beijing through the unofficial influence system run by the Liaison Department. A typical example is the close connection between this agency and Neville Roy Singham, a Beijing-friendly American billionaire currently living in Shanghai, regarded as a strategic sponsor for many anti-Western organizations. In May 2021, Chinese media praised Singham's sponsorship of a cooperation project between the Communication Academy of East China Normal University in Shanghai and Maku Cultural Company, aiming to spread a positive image of China worldwide. This was essentially a form of foreign propaganda cleverly disguised under academic cover. On Maku's website, there was once an image of a group of young people gathered at Singham's office holding banners forever loyal to the Chinese Communist Party, with a picture of Chairman Xi Jinping behind them. However, after Western media discovered and questioned this, the entire website was immediately taken down from public access. In July 2023, the China Research Institute of Fudan University in Shanghai released photos from a seminar on the Chinese Communist Party's discourse in the Global Civilization Initiative, a proposal by Xi Jinping. In the photos, Singham's figure appeared, with nameplates in both Chinese and English below, indicating he was not just a guest, but possibly a strategic partner in global propaganda efforts. In 2024, the NCRI Rogers Research Agency exposed direct links between Singham's funding network and 7 major organizations behind protests in the U.S., including BB Forum and International People's Assembly. These organizations belong to the SID4P alliance and have launched numerous campaigns blocking traffic and attacking public authorities under the guise of fighting for Palestine or against police violence. According to NCRI, the ultimate goal of this movement is not just to oppose specific policies, but to weaken Western democratic institutions, sow social instability, and provoke distrust in the state system, a tactic within the strategic chaos agenda pursued by Beijing. Notably, the Central Foreign Liaison Department is seen as the main agency directly connecting allies like Singham to Beijing's power center, not only providing strategic direction, but possibly also covert financial resources to operate the network. As early as 2021, Marco Rubio, then a U.S. Senator and now Secretary of State, sent a letter requesting an investigation into the relationship between Singham and the Chinese government. Among all these connections, Liu Jianchao, head of the liaison department, is at the center of the network. He holds the map of influence organizations, money transfer channels, identities of cooperating figures, ongoing covert campaigns, and plans to disrupt public opinion in the coming years. If this information falls into the wrong hands or is exploited by opposing forces, the consequence would be a comprehensive security crisis. In the eyes of Western intelligence agencies, Liu Jianchao is not just a diplomatic official, but the golden key to unlocking China's entire secret operational network worldwide. As head of the Central Foreign Liaison Department, he controls the operational map of influence organizations, financial funding channels, Western contact networks, and Beijing's international social manipulation campaigns. It is no coincidence that just a few months ago, the FBI publicly released 2 videos in Mandarin directly calling on Chinese officials to provide intelligence to the U.S., an unprecedented move showing Washington's urgent efforts to infiltrate the opponent's intelligence network. In this context, if Liu truly chooses a strategic escape as the political defection hypothesis suggests, the information he holds would cause incalculable damage to China's national security. Wherever the truth lies, the case of Liu Jianchao has become a heavy blow to the senior personnel system of Chairman Xi Jinping. After the sudden fall of Qin Gang, the position of foreign minister has been left half-officially vacant, and Liu Jianchao, who Beijing quietly introduced to the international community as the successor, has now also been removed from the game. For the time being, Wang Yi has been reassigned back to his old position, but experts assess this as only a temporary measure, a power buffer to prevent the crisis from spreading. Reuters quoted Song Wenjie, an expert at the Atlantic Council, warning that if Liu Jianchao is truly out of favor, it represents a serious personnel gap in Beijing's foreign affairs system. More worryingly, the continuous purge of figures with moderate tendencies, who are highly regarded by the West, will push China's foreign policy into the hands of the Wolf Warrior faction, a group known for its hardline, confrontational, and uncompromising ideology. This means the world is about to face a more unpredictable, sharper, and even more antagonistic Beijing on all fronts. The timing of the leaked information coincides with the ongoing Beidaihe conference, an informal political meeting that deeply influences the future of China's political landscape. Liu Jianchao's case has certainly been brought to the table as a power card used by factions to attack each other and reshape the personnel balance ahead of the 4th Central Committee meeting expected in October. Even more alarming is the wave of failures in personnel planning that is eroding Xi's credibility. The continuous handling of senior officials appointed by himself not only damages the image of the decisive leader, but also creates internal insecurity, leaving no one sure whether they will be chosen today, but questioned tomorrow. The personnel instability, combined with the risk of losing control over global intelligence, is pushing Beijing into a defensive stance right at the heart of its power. Dear viewers, the mysterious disappearance of Liu Jianchao is not merely a personal incident. It is a mirror reflecting the cracks in a secretive power system where those chosen today can be purged without warning tomorrow. Whether the ultimate reason is corruption, factional struggle, or national security violations, the underlying message is clear. No one is untouchable. Especially when a figure holding so many foreign secrets, intelligence operations, and strategic influence networks like Liu can be quietly taken away, it reveals the level of internal chaos that Zhongnanhai always tries to conceal. Even when the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection issues an official conclusion, as precedent shows, the statement will only cite serious disciplinary violations or corruption charges without revealing the true nature of the political purge. The issue at stake is not just the fate of an individual, but the future of the system. As key positions in foreign affairs are continuously eliminated and cadres described as Xi Jinping's chosen ones fall one after another, the only certainty is the uncertainty enveloping China's political arena. On the other side of the chessboard, Western intelligence agencies from the CIA to the FBI are surely watching closely, waiting to see if this system can still keep its last secrets. Dear viewers, this concludes our video. Thank you for your attention and viewership. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Global Panorama channel for more in-depth analysis from Mr. Jack. We will see you in the next video.